Deep within the blazing heart of the world, the fissures of the Earth's heart groaned with molten fury, their fiery glow casting long shadows across the jagged chasms. The air was thick with the scent of brimstone, and the ground pulsed with an unnatural heat, as if the world itself was alive and breathing. In this treacherous land, Zarion stood on the precipice, his eyes fixed on the roiling lava below, knowing that somewhere within its depths lay the source of his pain. The Serpent God had poisoned his homeland, and his journey to destroy the beast had led him here, where gods and mortals alike trembled before the fiery abyss. Zarion, son of the Skyfather, carried the weight of divine blood in his veins, though it did little to ease the burning rage within him. His once pristine armor, now scorched and battered from his travels, clung to his muscular frame as he descended into the fissures. His companions, Seren, a fierce warrior priestess, and Kara, a skilled tracker with unmatched cunning, followed closely behind. The trio moved with purpose, their silent resolve unbroken by the rising waves of heat that threatened to consume them whole. As they neared the entrance to the Temple of the Molten Serpent, an ancient ruin carved into the blackened rock, a sense of foreboding filled the air. The temple had stood for millennia, its walls etched with serpentine symbols that flickered in the light of the lava streams. Kara knelt, tracing the marks with a grim expression. "The serpent's power is still strong here," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the rumble of the earth. Zarion clenched his fists, the weight of his quest heavy upon him. He would confront the serpent, and nothing would stand in his way. As the ground trembled beneath their feet, Seren spoke for the first time since their descent. "Be cautious, Zarion," she warned, her hand gripping the hilt of her blade. "The serpent is not merely a creature of myth. It is bound to the very heart of this place. We are treading on ancient ground, where the gods themselves have fallen." Her words echoed in Zarion's mind, but he pushed the warning aside. His thoughts were consumed by revenge and the destruction of the Serpent God, whose corruption had turned his once vibrant homeland into a desolate wasteland. At the threshold of the temple, Zarion took a deep breath, his gaze meeting that of Seren and Kara. Together, they would face the serpent, but only one truth consumed his mind. He would tear the beast apart for what it had done. Yet deep within the ancient temple, something stirred in the shadows, watching their every move, waiting for the moment to reveal the truth they were not ready to face. As Zarion, Seren, and Kara stepped into the darkened halls of the Temple of the Molten Serpent, the temperature seemed to rise with every passing moment. The walls of the temple, carved with intricate serpentine patterns, pulsed with a faint, eerie glow. Shadows danced along the stone floors, and the air crackled with a power long forgotten by mortal men. Each step they took seemed to echo with an ancient memory, a whisper of a time when the gods ruled the earth. Zarion gripped his weapon tighter, his pulse quickening as the weight of the serpent's presence bore down upon him. Seren moved ahead cautiously, her sharp gaze scanning the narrow corridors for any signs of danger. "This place, it's alive," she muttered, more to herself than the others. Her words sent a chill through the group, despite the oppressive heat. Kara, with her unmatched tracking skills, knelt once more, tracing the paths left by creatures far older than men. "We're not the first to enter this place," Kara murmured, "but I fear we may be the last to leave." Zarion's jaw clenched. There was no turning back now. As they ventured deeper into the temple, the walls seemed to close in around them, and the glow from the serpentine symbols grew stronger. The molten rock beneath the temple's foundations pulsed like a heartbeat, sinking with the rise and fall of their own breaths. Suddenly, a loud hiss echoed through the chambers, freezing the group in their tracks. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and from the depths of the temple, a pair of glowing serpentine eyes emerged from the darkness. The beast was stirring. The sight of the Serpent God filled Zarion with a mixture of dread and fury. This was the creature that had brought ruin to his homeland, the one he had sworn to destroy. But as the serpent coiled in the shadows, its movements slow and deliberate. A strange calmness radiated from it. Seren and Kara readied their weapons, their muscles tense, but Zarion hesitated. Something about the serpent's presence felt different. It was not the mindless beast he had imagined, but rather a creature that held wisdom beyond mortal understanding. Before Zarion could act, the serpent spoke, not in words, but in a language of thoughts that pierced through the mind like a sharp blade. "You seek to destroy what you do not understand, child of the gods," the voice echoed within Zarion's consciousness. "But it is not I who brought ruin to your land. You have been deceived." The words shook Zarion to his core. The serpent's eyes, once menacing, now gleamed with a sorrow that mirrored his own. The revelation lingered in the air like a storm about to break. The air within the temple grew thick with tension as the Serpent God's voice echoed in Zarion's mind. His companions, Seren and Kara, stood ready for battle. Yet Zarion hesitated, his grip tightening around his blade. Could it be true? Could the serpent, the very creature he had sought to destroy, have been protecting his homeland all along? His heart raced with conflicting emotions, anger, confusion, and a growing sense of dread. If the serpent spoke the truth, then who had truly corrupted his land? "Lies!" Zarion shouted, his voice reverberating off the temple walls. His anger flared like the molten fissures beneath his feet, but the serpent did not react with malice. Instead, its glowing eyes softened, and its massive body slowly uncoiled, revealing the full majesty of its form. The creature was ancient, its scales shimmering like molten rock, and its presence filled the chamber with an undeniable power. "You have been blinded by vengeance, child of the gods," the serpent's voice whispered in his mind. "Your true enemy hides in the shadows, watching, waiting." Seren stepped forward, her voice sharp with urgency. "Zarion, we cannot trust this creature. It has deceived us before." Kara, still crouched low with her daggers ready, nodded in agreement. But Zarion's mind swirled with doubt. The serpent's calm, sorrowful demeanor gnawed at the edges of his certainty. He could feel the weight of truth in its words, a truth he had been too blinded by fury to see. The serpent, far from being his enemy, had stood as the last guardian of his homeland. The ground beneath them trembled violently, and from the far side of the temple, a figure emerged from the shadows. Clad in dark, shimmering armor, a presence that Zarion recognized instantly. His divine father, the Skyfather. "Do you see now, my son?" The Skyfather's voice boomed, filling the temple. "The serpent has misled you just as it misled all of us." Zarion's heart dropped. His father had followed him, but why? Why now, when everything was on the brink of revelation? The Serpent God's eyes glowed brighter, its voice filling Zarion's mind. "Your father is the true betrayer, Zarion. He seeks to claim the power of the Fissures for himself." The realization struck Zarion like a blow to the chest. The Skyfather, the one who had sent him on this journey, had orchestrated the destruction of their homeland. He had lied to Zarion, using him as a pawn in his quest for power. Rage boiled within Zarion, his divine blood surging with newfound strength. His blade trembled in his hand as he faced the greatest decision of his life, whether to strike down his father or join him in the deception. Zarion stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest as the weight of the truth settled over him. His father, the Skyfather, had been the true betrayer all along, using Zarion to destroy the last protector of their homeland. The Serpent God, ancient and wise, watched silently as the realization broke over Zarion. He turned towards Seren and Kara, both still poised for battle, their expressions torn between confusion and disbelief. "We've been deceived," Zarion muttered, his voice thick with emotion. "The serpent, it was never our enemy." The ground beneath their feet rumbled again, more violently this time, as if the very fissures of the earth were reacting to the revelation. The Skyfather's gaze hardened, his once paternal demeanor now replaced by cold indifference. "Do not let the serpent fool you, my son. the Skyfather said, his voice booming with divine authority. "I did what was necessary to ensure the survival of our people." But Zarion's trust in his father had crumbled. He saw now that his father's ambition had blinded him, turning him into a ruthless manipulator. Seren, always the voice of reason, stepped forward cautiously. "Zarion, if the Serpent is truly the protector of our homeland, then we must act now before it's too late." Kara, ever loyal, nodded, but the tension in the air was palpable. The temple walls began to crack as the earth quaked violently beneath them. Lava spilled from the fissures, and molten rock rained from the ceiling as the entire structure groaned under the weight of divine conflict. The Serpent God, still coiled in the shadows, watched with sorrowful eyes, knowing its fate rested in Zarion's hands. With a final decisive breath, Zarion turned to face his father. The Skyfather's eyes blazed with fury, knowing that his son's loyalty was slipping through his grasp. "You will defy me for a beast!" the Skyfather snarled, raising his hand to summon a torrent of divine power. But Zarion's resolve was unshakable now. He raised his sword, the blade glowing with the energy of the Earth's molten core, and stepped between the Skyfather and the Serpent. "I will protect what you tried to destroy," Zarion declared, his voice steady and filled with purpose. In that moment, the temple shook with cataclysmic force. The fissures of the earth roared to life as molten lava surged upward, engulfing the temple in a fiery blaze. Zarion could feel the Serpent God's presence beside him, its strength flowing through his veins as they stood united against the Skyfather. With one swift strike, Zarion's blade met his father's divine power, and the two forces collided in a blaze of fire and light. The clash of power sent shockwaves through the temple, but Zarion stood firm, knowing that the future of his homeland depended on this final stand. As the temple shook, and the clash between Zarion and the Skyfather filled the air with blinding light, the Serpent God's voice echoed once more in Zarion's mind. "You must end this now, child of the gods, or your homeland will be lost forever." The Serpent's words fueled Zarion's resolve, and with one final surge of strength, he drove his molten glowing blade deep into his father's divine chest. The Skyfather's roar of fury and disbelief reverberated through the crumbling walls, but his power waned as the fiery blade consumed him. The Skyfather staggered backward, his once immense strength failing him as the earth trembled beneath his feet. He looked at Zarion with a mixture of hatred and sorrow, but no words came. In that moment, the Skyfather's divine form crumbled into ash, carried away by the hot winds of the molten chasms. The temple, once a symbol of divine power, now stood in ruins, its walls cracking as molten lava surged upward. Seren and Kara rushed to Zarion's side, their eyes wide with disbelief at what they had witnessed. The Serpent God slithered forward, its glowing eyes fixed on Zarion, who stood amidst the ruin, breathing heavily. "You have done what was necessary," the Serpent's voice said, its tone filled with a deep sorrow. "Your homeland was not destroyed by me, but by your father's greed for power. I have been its guardian, and now I pass that duty to you." Zarion's heart sank as the weight of the Serpent's words struck him. His quest for vengeance had been misguided, and the enemy he sought to destroy had been the protector all along. As the temple continued to collapse around them, the Serpent's massive form began to wither. Its scales, once glowing with molten light, dimmed as its body sank into the molten earth. "I am the last of my kind," the Serpent whispered. "Now, you must take my place as the protector of your homeland." Zarion's chest tightened as he realized the price of his victory. The power of the Fissures, the ancient and divine force that had once belonged to the Serpent God, would now be his to bear. With the Serpent's final breath, its body dissolved into the molten chasms, leaving Zarion standing alone at the heart of the temple's ruins. Seren and Kara approached cautiously, their eyes filled with concern. "Zarion, what happens now?" Seren asked softly. Zarion gazed at the Fissures, feeling the immense power stirring beneath him. "I will protect our homeland," he said, his voice steady. "But the cost of this power is great. I must remain here, bound to the fissures just as the Serpent was. As the sun set over the distant horizon, Zarion knew that his journey had not ended in triumph, but in eternal duty. He would forever guard the molten chasms, ensuring that no one, god or man, would threaten his homeland again. His